from Timmy Global Health. As you probably know, Timmy Global Health works to expand access to healthcare and empower students to tackle global health challenges throughout the world. One of the most important aspects of our efforts is understanding health disparities in the communities where we work in Ecuador, Guatemala, and the Dominican Republic. In order to eliminate health disparities within our communities, it is important to know about the history and culture of the region so we may better understand the root of a problem and develop culturally competent solutions. Whether it be through medical clinics or public health education, we want to deliver care and information in an effective manner while maintaining cultural sensitivity. We also want our students to be immersed in the culture of the place to which they travel, as it enhances one's experience abroad. This video in particular will focus on the history and culture of Timmy's site on the beach, Monte Cristi, Dominican Republic. Monte Cristi, more formally known as San Fernando de Monte Cristi, is located in the northwest Dominican Republic, just miles from the Haitian border. It's a smaller, lowland town with a population of just under 25,000. It is located right on the northern coast bordering the Atlantic Ocean, more specifically bordering the Bahia de Monte Cristi, or the Monte Cristi Bay. Due to its location in the Caribbean, Monte Cristi experiences summer-like temperatures year-round and is known for its high humidity index. One of the most notable geographical landmarks in Monte Cristi is El Morro, the westernmost peak of the Cordillera Septentrional mountain range that runs along the northern coast of the DR. It is said that Christopher Columbus named the small mountain El Morro, or the Mountain of Christ, when he first landed in the mountain's lagoon and subsequently discovered the island of Hispaniola in December of 1492. During his short time there, Columbus and his men met the native Taino Indians, who did not survive very long after the Spanish arrival destroyed their health and generated conflict. Later, in 1506, Spain sent Nicolas de Ovando to Hispaniola as governor of the island, during which time he founded Monte Cristi. Locals say that this was the first of several different foundings of the town. Another founding moment was in 1533, upon the arrival of Juan de Bolaños, who led 60 families from Spain's Canary Islands to Monte Cristi, hoping to take advantage of its maritime market. This group found much success in maritime commerce and flourished in Monte Cristi until rumors spread that the market was supporting piracy and importing contraband. In 1606, Monte Cristi was burned under Spain's order. Monte Cristi rebounded over time, and by the late 1870s was one of the DR's largest trading posts. The town thrived, exporting leather skins, goat meat, and precious wood furniture made of materials like mahogany. So much trade was occurring in Monte Cristi that 8 consulates were set up in the city, including the US, Germany, Italy, Spain, and France. In fact, the center of Monte Cristi holds a clock tower from France, held in high regard as its structure was built by Alexandre Eiffel, the man responsible for the Eiffel Tower frame. Unfortunately, Monte Cristi's success did not last forever. In the mid-1900s, the DR was ruled by a dictator-like president named Rafael Trujillo. Trujillo claimed that the citizens of Monte Cristi were resistant to his rule, so he sought to decrease commerce in the city, and it worked. Subsequently, to this day, Monte Cristi still suffers economically from the downfall. Interestingly, Trujillo is also responsible for ethnic tensions that still persist in the DR. Trujillo created very strict definitions of what it meant to be Dominican and what it meant to be from the neighboring country, Haiti. He held Dominicans to a much higher accord than Haitians, claiming the whiteness of the Dominicans made them superior to the voodoo practicing Haitians. These beliefs actually stemmed from a time in the early 1800s when Haiti conquered the DR for some time, leaving a deep-seated bitterness in the hearts of Dominicans even after they gained control of their country. Sadly, this discrimination against Haitians is still seen in the DR today. In Monte Cristi, Timmy Global Health sees both Dominican and Haitian patients. The Dominican patients we see are of low socioeconomic class, and therefore do not have access to private hospitals, nor can they often afford travel to public hospitals. Even when they do reach public hospitals, the sheer overcrowdedness prevents these patients from being seen for extended periods of time. Our Haitian patients, on the other hand, are deemed ineligible for Dominican citizenship, even though they have successfully left Haiti and established themselves just across the border in the DR. This means that Haitians living in the DR have basically no access to healthcare, education, transportation, work, and housing. Without Timmy's efforts in conjunction with our partner Banalino, both the low-income Dominicans and the Haitians of Monte Cristi would be unable to afford healthcare, a basic right that all people deserve in order to live a quality life. The official language spoken in the DR is Spanish, the dialect many of us learn in high school and college. Although none of Timmy's patients in the DR speak an indigenous language like in many of our other sites, we do have a large group of patients who speak a language completely different from Spanish, yet still native to the island of Hispaniola. This language is Haitian Creole. The term Creole generally refers to stable languages that originated from the mixture of two or more separate languages. Haitian Creole has its roots largely in French, but is distinguished by its infusion with several West African languages. Haitian Creole is an official language of Haiti because it is closely tied to the country's history of slave trade under French rule. The language is believed to have appeared when African slaves attempted to communicate with the French, eventually evolving into a form of communication between the slaves themselves. Since Creole is so different from Spanish, communication between Haitians and Dominicans is limited, often perpetuating the racism and poverty traps Haitians face in the DR today. For this reason, students will find Creole translators in Timmy clinics that take place within the Haitian communities. Just as Creole is unique from Spanish, Monte Cristi finds itself unique from other Dominican cities in the DR in terms of culture, too. The town of Monte Cristi is known for its goat, called chivo. Not only will one find goats roaming farms in the area, but one will also find it on many menus and dinner plates. Dominicans rave about the chivo in Monte Cristi specifically because they say the goat in Monte Cristi graze on wild oregano growing on the province's hillsides, infusing a better taste into the meat. Chivo is usually served roasted or stewed, unless it's bought as a carcass from a meat stand on the main highway driving into Monte Cristi. The tropical climate of the DR also lends itself to the growth of local fruits that we don't often find here in the States, such as passion fruit, guayaba, guanabana, tamarind, and zapote. Avocado is also a local favorite. Since Monte Cristi is a coastal town, one can also find a variety of seafood in local restaurants. But this, along with chivo and rarer fruits and vegetables, is often unaffordable for many locals, including Timmy patients. Instead, a typical meal for Timmy's patients will consist of rice and beans with a side of fried plantains or bananas. Bananas and plantains are prevalent in Timmy communities because, as you may know, many of our patients work for Banalino, a banana farming cooperative. When it's available, families will also serve fried chicken and pork. For this reason, a lot of the chronic health problems, such as diabetes, that our patients in the DR face come about from overconsumption of salt and fried foods, along with a lack of vegetables in the diet. Everyday life in Monte Cristi varies depending on social class and gender. Upper-class citizens may own shops, work in the local government, or within the local healthcare system. The most important economic activities for the municipality, though, are fishing and salt production, which makes sense since Monte Cristi is on the ocean. Timmy students usually see small fishing boats lining the beaches of Monte Cristi, and they often notice the distinct salt fields upon arrival to the town. Since Monte Cristi is almost below sea level, salt producers let ocean water sit in large salt pans until the water has evaporated and all that's left is a layer of salt. They then mine this salt and supply it to large North American companies, one of those being the well-known Morton Salt. The most common occupation for Timmy patients, however, is as a farm worker. Timmy students who have traveled to Monte Cristi know that the very humble homes in which our patients live, known as bateys, are actually located on banana farms. This means that driving between our communities, we often see Dominican men working on the plantations. Bananas and rice are the most widely farmed crops here. Unlike the men, women are largely expected to stay within the home, taking care of children and household chores. Similar to many other Latin American countries, the culture of the DR generally keeps women in the home and minimizes their economic opportunities. Even more unfortunately, Haitians are not considered citizens of the Dominican Republic and therefore cannot legally work in the country. So, many of Timmy's patients are unemployed or must find different ways to make a small, likely inconsistent income for their families. Life in the DR is not all about work, though. Sunday mornings are typically dedicated to Mass, and it is a cultural norm for Dominicans to visit neighbors and friends to sit and talk for hours, something we should embrace more in our tech-savvy culture. Dominicans, especially the people of Monte Cristi, take great pride in many aspects of their culture, one of these being music. Monte Cristi is actually the birthplace of Dominican bachata music. Bachata music is recognized for its sounds of the timbre drum, made of wood and goat hide, the guira, a percussion instrument made of tin, and the guitar. The subjects of bachata songs are typically romantic, so it's not surprising that men and women dance a well-known three-step and tap to the beat. Two of the most famous bachata singers of all time, Anthony Santos and Raulín Rodriguez, grew up in Monte Cristi and contributed to the worldwide known song and dance. Today, visitors to the DR hear bachata music played often on the radio and in dance clubs, with Prince Royce being one of the most popular current artists. He is the artist you are hearing right now. It is important to know, though, that bachata music is not the only dance Dominicans embrace. Timmy students in the DR may learn salsa and merengue on their trip, too. Another form of entertainment close to Dominican hearts, and American hearts as well, is baseball. In fact, this is the main sport played on the island by children and adults alike. Interestingly, Cuba brought the sport to the DR. At one time, there was even a professional Dominican league highly supported by President Trujillo, but the league later folded under economic pressures. Today, there are many amateur leagues and MLB academies on the island where Dominican players are recruited for their athletic talents. In fact, the famous baseball player Ozzie Virgil was the first Dominican to play Major League Baseball. His birthplace was Monte Cristi. There are several other current MLB players who were born and raised in Monte Cristi, including Chicago Cubs shortstop Starlene Castro. Castro has been cited a few times by Timmy's staff hanging out in the off-season with old friends on return trips to his small hometown. Although Monte Cristi isn't necessarily known for tourism, it does have some treasures that a lucky few come to find. These attractions include El Moro Beach, a beautiful lagoon, as well as a few coral reefs and sunken Spanish ships that divers seek off the coast. Isla Cabrita, the small island less than a mile from Monte Cristi shores, is also a tourist destination due to its lighthouse and private beach nature. Timmy students get to enjoy some of these attractions on medical service trips, including the beach visits, a short hike near El Moro, and a mangrove boat tour. Being Timmy Global Health's site, known for its beauty, Monte Cristi has a special place in the hearts of Timmy students and staff. The town's rich history and culture are fascinating and leave a lot to be explored. Hopefully this video gave you a taste of all the wonderful things found in and around Monte Cristi, including in Timmy communities. We encourage you to search for any of the topics presented here in more detail, as there is so much more to learn about both Monte Cristi and the Dominican Republic as a whole. Until next time, adios!